Hello and welcome. It is that time of year, the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship. Have my bracket here. Yes, it is time for March Madness and the filling out of brackets. And this year I'm going to be putting the madness in March Madness by doing an absolutely insane filling out of my bracket. We're not going to let logic rule the day or detailed analysis of statistics. No, we're going to give over to chance, dark forces, chaos, random geometry, all kinds of weird and varied ways of producing a bracket. And I think that while this might be crazy, it is just as, or probably far more likely to yield an accurate bracket than anything I would do otherwise. So, what do you say we dive into things here and see what we can come up with, okay? Alright, let's do it. Alright, so, we have all of these games to determine, and the way that most people do it, which I find depressingly normal and perhaps even foolish, is to pick the winner of each game and then advance them to the next round, ultimately winnowing down the field to a single winner. Well, I think it makes far more sense to determine the winner first, advance them, and then we can evaluate some of these other matchups. So one of our key tools in this quest for deeper truth will be random number generation using a variety of dice. So I have my collection here, and I think if I grab two 8-sided dice, I don't think we should use that one either. Much better this one, I think, yes. If we grab two 8-sided die, each composed of 8 equilateral triangles, and if we multiply the results of one by the other, we can generate a number between 1 and 64, which is what we are working with here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and we'll just go down left side. Duke, the Duke Tar Heels would be number 1, Siena 2, Ohio State 3, etc. And continuing over here till 64 would be Tennessee State. Okay, so let's go ahead and make our first roll here. I can roll in my dice tray. Alright, so the first number will be 2. And the second number is 7. So this would be 14. 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. UCF is our winner. That was pretty straightforward, wasn't it? So we'll just bring them all the way through the tournament to the final four, and of course emerging triumphant from their side of the bracket, and don't even have to worry about how they match up against their opponents, since these things have already been decided. Perfect. Well, that gets a number of things out of our way, doesn't it? All right, a couple other issues here. There are some games that are not yet determined. It's clear that they couldn't figure out who to send to this game. So I think failure to show up means those teams would automatically forfeit, and their opponents would advance forward here. So BYU here, Michigan here. Okay, great. And then Tennessee beats Molosmu. Okay, great. All right, now our first matchup. Duke versus Siena, 1 seed versus a 16. Have this token. We'll say this star side is Duke, and the Cobra side is Siena, and we'll just flip this. And it comes up Cobra, which is a win for Siena. Nicely done. Then we have Ohio State 8 versus TCU 9 in the East here. I have this bag of dice, little tiny dice, red and green 6-sided dice. And I don't think they're an equal number in here, but we won't let that concern us in any way. And what I will do is draw one of these. Let's say red is Ohio State and green is TCU. And it is red, so it goes to Ohio State. Simple enough. Next, number 5, St. John's versus number 12, Northern Iowa. For this, I have some cards from the game Milborn, classic racing card game. And I'm going to draw 3 cards. And if we have numbers totaling 150 or more, this will go to St. John's. Otherwise, Northern Iowa. So, card 1, 75. Card 2, 100. Well, without even drawing 3 cards, we end up with a 200. That went to St. John's. All right, up next, number 4, Kansas versus 13, Cal Baptist. Again, let's go to a deck of cards. This time we will use a proper deck of playing cards. Make sure we just have the actual cards here. Ensure those are perfectly random. Alright, and I want you to go ahead and draw a card. If it's red, it will be Kansas, otherwise Cal Baptist, okay? So you just tell me which of these cards to draw for you. Which one, which one, which one, Which card do you want to draw? Which card do you want to draw? This one? And it is red, which gives the game to Kansas. The number 4 seed advances, bringing us to number 6, Louisville versus 11, South Florida. All right, so we have some beads here, some little beads. These are white beads. And I have another bag. Which has red beads. So I'm going to take some red beads and some white beads. I will put them in this empty bag. This bag is empty. There's nothing in the bag. The bag is empty. Some red beads and some white beads. Again, I do not know if their numbers are equal or not, and to know so would spoil this. So, what do you say Louisville is going to be white and South Florida will be red? Okay, Louisville white, South Florida red. Louisville white and South Florida red. White, so that gives it to Louisville. Alright, up next, number 3, Michigan State versus number 14, North Dakota State. So this is a 3 seed versus a 14. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply each one by 3, and I will take whichever is larger. So 3 times 3 there, that gives us 9. 3 times 14, that's going to give us 42. So 42 is larger than 9. So a victory for North Dakota State. All right, which gives us the last matchup in the East. Number 2, Yukon versus number 15, Furman. Okay? So now I want you to visualize a color. Okay? Get a color in mind. Okay? Visualize that color. All right? All right. You have the color, you have the exact shade in your mind, right? Okay. If it's Roy G, it's going to be Yukon. But if it's on the Biv side, it'll be Furman. So, what color were you visualizing? Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Got it. Okay. All right. I have 2 4-sided die. 1 or 2, it's going to be Clemson. 3 or 4, it's going to be Iowa. Very simple. Just need you to choose which die. Which die am I going to use? This kind of rectangular crystalline die, or this purple die? The rectangular crystalline die, or this purple die? Both. Well, that's confusing. All right. How about we say this will be Clemson, this will be Iowa. Whichever one rolls higher will be the winner. We can use both that way, okay? All right. Allow us to roll. Clemson, Iowa. A 3 for Clemson. And a 2 for Iowa. So Clemson it is. And because Florida had that free pass in the first round, I think they're going to be totally untired and have no problem stomping Clemson. So that's an easy win for Florida. No trouble there. All right, again, I'm going to take my token for Vanderbilt versus McNeese, number 5 versus number 12 in the South. And if I get 3 stars before we get to 5 flips, so I'll do 5 flips if necessary. If we get 3 stars, then the game goes to Vanderbilt. Okay. All right. 1. No, that was a cobra. There's a star on our second. Cobra. Oh, one more cobra and that's it. 2 to 2. Last one will decide. And it's a cobra. Sorry, Vanderbilt. McNeese is going forward. And that's good because it's sane to only pick higher seeds and insane to pick lower seeds. So that works out for us. All right, next up, we have number 4, Nebraska versus 13, Troy. Well, the Trojans of Troy. Nebraska, the Cornhuskers. These are people who were farmers out in the prairie, so I feel like they would ride horses. And when it comes to horses and Troy, it's not good. So this one we're going to give to Nebraska. All right, then we have number 6, North Carolina versus number 11, VCU. And we'll go alphabetical here, which gives it to North Carolina. All right, number 3, Illinois versus 14, Penn. I am using a pen. I am using this pen to fill out my bracket. And since I'm using a pen, I will go with Penn. An embarrassing loss for the 3 seed there. Number 7, St. Mary's versus number 10, Texas A&M. All right, for this, I'm going to make a target mark on the back of my paper here, and I will twice drop my pen. First for St. Mary's, secondly for Texas A&M, and whichever is closest to that dot will be the winner. Okay. All right, let's do the first drop. And number 2. All right. Well, I think the first drop is in fact closer. The 1.5 there and almost 2 for the other. So that hands the victory to St. Mary's. All right, number 2, Houston versus 15, Idaho. Let's do some dice rolling here. Let's get some 8-sided dice. Again, our 8-sided dice. A blue one and this kind of turquoisey, aquamarine, see-through dye. And with 2d8, I could go from 2 to 16. We have 2 versus 15. So I'm going to roll these, and whichever one is closest to the number rolled by seed will win. 8 and 17 is 15 exactly, which gives the win to Idaho. That wraps up this half of the bracket, East and South. Let us now do West and Midwest on the opposing side of the bracket. And first up is number 1 Arizona versus number 16 LIU. This is another case for the dice. I have these unique dice, and they have these kind of hexagonal symbols on them. Some faces have 2, some have 1, some have none. And we're going to say that if there are 2 or more showing, the win will go to Arizona. All right? 2 or more of those symbols. And there is only the 1 showing. So Arizona loses. All right, now we have number 8 Villanova versus number 9 Utah State. All right, so we have this funky flowery symbol on here, which will be our stand-in for Villanova. If we see that symbol, then we'll have our answer. The winner is Villanova. And we do not. So that is a brutal upset by the number 9 seed of the number 8 seed. Now, Wisconsin versus High Point, a 5 versus a 12. And we will go alphabetical by mascot. So let's just have a look here. With Wisconsin, the Badgers, Bucky Badger is officially the mascot. And let's look at High Point. Their mascot is Prowler the Panther. So Panthers loses out to B, and Wisconsin takes the win. Now we have to settle the matter of Arkansas versus Hawaii. So let's open our box here. And we'll pull back this fabric to reveal our magic wand. So this will be settled Harry Potter style by casting a spell that will reveal who will win this matchup. Who will win the matchup between Arkansas and Hawaii? Between Arkansas and Hawaii. Arkansas and Hawaii. Revelio Tournamentio. Hawaii victorious. All right. Power of the magic wand. Let's place our wand back in the box here. Don't want to be unleashing magic indiscriminately in the world here. Close that up. Okay. And to identify the winner of Gonzaga versus Kennesaw State, 3 versus 14, we need a random number we'll input between 3 and 14 and see what we get here. And we got 9, 6 to Gonzaga, 5 to Kennesaw State. So a loss for Gonzaga, bringing us to number 7, Miami, versus number 10, Missouri. Again, let us consult our deck of cards. I am going to draw a card for Miami, a card for Missouri, and whichever has the higher card will win. Starting with the higher seed Miami, a 7. And unfortunately their opponent drew a 2. So Miami takes the win. Now we have Purdue versus Queens. We will draw 2 cards, Purdue being a number 2 seed, but if any of them are Queens, the number 15 seed, Queens will win. First card is a 2. So close, we had a jack, but no queens. Alas, Purdue takes the victory. And Michigan had a no-show against Chow, and so again I think they have no trouble winning the next round as well, regardless of their opponent. And then we have Georgia versus St. Louis, and we will go alphabetical by the last letter of their name and going in reverse alphabetical order. So we have S versus A. The S comes first, reverse alphabetically, so a win for St. Louis. Louis. Up next, number 5, Texas Tech versus number 12, Akron. Because Akron is not an acronym, I feel they cannot win that. Texas Tech. Number 4, Alabama versus number 13, Hofstra. And I think for this, we'll go with whichever mascot ends in IDE. Okay, so let's just do a quick look here. The Alabama mascot is Crimson Tide, and then Hofstra mascot, the Hofstra Pride. So they both end in IDE. Well, the specific mascots are Kate and Willie Pride versus Big Al for Alabama, and so alphabetically Big Al would be the tiebreaker there. So Alabama takes the win, Roll Tide. Tennessee won. Then we have Virginia versus Wright State. We will return to our Milborn deck. If I draw a number higher than 50, the win will go to Virginia. So 75, that is a loss for Virginia. Pretty straightforward there. I think we chose the right state for that one. Number 7, Kentucky versus Santa Clara. We'll go alphabetical by famous alcoholic products. We have Kentucky bourbon, Santa Clara, I guess maybe wine. I'm going Kentucky. And lastly, number 2, Iowa State versus Tennessee State. And we will go by length of school name here, which gives the win to Tennessee State. All right, that gives us our first round winners. I think we are pretty much still on the money at this point, but let's hammer out the second round here. So I'm going to generate a string of random numbers, and we'll go with whichever ones are closest to the seedings of the teams in the East. We'll kind of power through this round, okay? Between 1 and 16. All right, so we get 7, 14, and 3. So we had 16 versus 8, so 7 closest to 8 there. And then we had 5 versus 4. That gives St. John's the win. And lastly, a 6 versus a 14, and we rolled 3. So that is Louisville. Okay, that gives us the Sweet 16 in the East. And continuing with the speed run for the South, we'll just flip a coin. Heads will be McNeese, heads being stars here. And it is a star. I did not use sleight of hand there. That was the real flip. I did not use magic. We're using magic other places in this endeavor. And then we have North Carolina versus Penn. The Penn Cobra, the North Carolina Star. And a North Carolina Star. Right. Those Blue Devils are crushing it. All right. And then lastly, St. Mary's Star versus Cobra, Idaho. Almost got away from us. Again, Star, St. Mary's takes the win. For the West, we will go with high card wins. First card drawn is the top. So LIU will be first card versus Utah. We have a queen. There's that queen. Versus a 4. That is LIU. Wisconsin, queen. Versus 5. Hawaii, Wisconsin. And then we have BYU versus Kent State. Jack beats 10 to give it to BYU. And lastly, we have Miami King versus Purdue 8. Almost felt rigged. All right. And now for the Midwest. I'm gonna have percentile dice, the 10s and a 1, 10s and a 1s. And if it's 0 to 49, it'll be the top team. And if it's 51 to 100, the bottom team in the bracket. So Texas Tech versus Alabama. That's going to be a 12, so Texas Tech. And then we have Tennessee versus Wright State. 37 again, Tennessee. And then Kentucky versus Tennessee State. There's a big number, 95 gives Tennessee State the win against Kentucky. Alright, so we have our Sweet 16. Our first matchup is Ohio State versus St. John's. Alright. So, it is time to get out the Ouija board. Alright, and we'll see what it tells us, okay? ready here. Just feel where it moves. We're not going to influence it at all. Looking for the winner of Ohio State versus St. John's. It's like A, N, G, E, L. Okay, well that's neither one, but angel is like a saint, so it must be saying St. John's. Okay. So St. John's, who, despite all their hard work, will lose to UCF. Now we have Florida versus McNeese. Okay? So, for this, we're going to use the Magic 8 Ball. Now, I don't have one, but we'll use the online version. Just go to the site on the World Wide Web. Who will win between Florida and McNeese? Shake the 8 ball. We didn't really ask a yes or no question, which I think will be more helpful, because yes definitely didn't work. Will McNeese beat Florida? Let's try this. There we go. Shaken. Still shaken, boss. It is certain. Wow. Place your bets. Alright, I have a black die and kind of blue marbled die, and whichever one rolls higher will win for that team. North Carolina, St. Mary's. North Carolina, St. Mary's. You know what? So we don't get confused, we'll use a color a little bit closer to North Carolina. North Carolina and St. Mary's. North Carolina, St. Mary's. North Carolina with the 3 wins over St. Mary's. Perfect. All right, LIU versus Wisconsin. For this, we're going to play a round of 5-card stud. So no betting, we'll just deal the hands. LIU, Wisconsin. Wow, both have aces showing. Place your bets, gentlemen. Pair of aces. Alright, our third card. Still the pair of aces will be leading the way. 6 and a 7. Wow, pair of aces in each hand. So let's see who wins. Jack and King. This pair takes it with King high. So Wisconsin for the win. BYU versus Miami. Let us return to our bag of red and white beads. This bag is not empty. It has the red and white beads. BYU white, Miami red. Miami white, BYU red, BYU white, Miami red. It is red for Miami. The red Miami bead was drawn. The hand of fate has decided. All right, Miami in the Elite Eight. And we have Michigan versus Texas Tech. Going reverse alphabetical by their team mascot here. So Michigan, the Wolverine, Texas Tech. Texas Tech are the Red Raiders. W first, reverse alphabetically, giving it to Michigan. Tennessee versus Tennessee State. We have lions on one face of these dice. If we get one or more lions, we'll go to Tennessee. And there is one, so Tennessee takes it. That gives us our Elite Eight. All right. We already know UCF wins in the East to go to the Final Four. Now we have McNeese versus North Carolina. And we'll go. So the winner here will be the school that has two consecutive vowels in their name. So McNeese, they do have two consecutive vowels, the two E's. North Carolina has no consecutive vowels. Yeah, A, O, I, A, and then O, R, T, N, O, R. You have no consecutive vowels, so McNeese, bit of an upset, the 12th seed, getting past the 8th seed into the Final Four. Now Wisconsin versus Miami. What we're going to do, we're going to choose a Formula One team from the 1990s. We'll go with one of the top teams. We'll choose randomly. We'll choose a random year from the 1990s, from 1990 to 1999. And in that year, which of those teams recorded the fastest lap on the Silverstone circuit? Fastest race lap, not a qualifying lap. We will randomly assign them teams, and whichever team the fastest lap at Silverstone in the randomly chosen year will be the winner. Alright, so we'll do Williams, Ferrari, McLaren, and Benetton. We'll roll for those first, and then we will roll for the year. So first things first, we will roll a 4-sided die to get the team for Wisconsin. 1 Williams, 2 Ferrari, 3 McLaren, 4 Benetton. 3, they will be McLaren. And Miami rolls 2, they will be Ferrari. Okay, so make a note so I don't lose track. Now we need to roll a 10-sided die to determine what year of the 90s. 0 being 1990, 9 being 1999. We're looking at 1997. Alright, so fastest lap times at Silverstone. In 1997. Alright, so Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari had the fastest lap. And the fastest for McLaren was Mika Hakkinen. almost a second and a half faster, it looks like, for Schumacher. So Ferrari takes it. That gives the win to Miami. Well done, Miami. Well done. Michigan is a 1 seed. Tennessee a 6 seed. Michigan will be represented by this bone-colored dye, and Tennessee by this kind of blue-black marble dye. Whichever one rolls closest to their seed, Michigan 1, Tennessee 6, will be the winner. Alright, so 1 to 4 is 3, 3 to 6 is 3, that's a tie. Let's roll again. Let's do this where you can see it. Alright. Tennessee rolled their seed exactly, so they go on to the Final Four, which gives us UCF, our ultimate winner, versus UCF versus McNeese, and Miami versus Tennessee on the other side of the bracket. Alright, now to determine the Final Four winner, well, UCF was really determined before the game was ever played that they would beat McNeese, okay? So we need to identify the winner of Miami versus Tennessee to finish our incredibly well thought out and highly correct bracket, alright? Miami versus Tennessee. And I think we should do this classic way of selecting a pairing is to spin the bottle, alright? So over here we will have Miami, over here Tennessee, Miami, Tennessee, Miami, Tennessee, and we'll spin the bottle. And it has not crossed halfway, so it will be Tennessee. All right. So our final game is between UCF and Tennessee. 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 And UCF takes the win, winning the national championship. Make your bets now. April 6th in Indianapolis, Indiana, UCF will win the NCAA tournament, beating Tennessee in the championship game. I hope you've found my bracket selection methodology to be helpful, informative, and can break the deadlock if you encounter any if you're trying to fill out your bracket. That said, we'll have to see how we do as the tournament progresses and whether I have the most accurate bracket or not. So stay tuned and enjoy the games. Good night.